Ever since Generation 2, shiny Pokemon have been some of the most sought after Pokemon in the entire franchise. Some people didn't see theirs until, the DS games with Gen 6 and so on. And some of us were lucky enough to get some as early as Gen 2 or Gen 3, not counting, of course, the shiny Gyarados. But what color is the best color for a shiny Pokemon? As you know, my personal favorite color is purple, but honestly, I think the best color for a shiny is actually blue. Now, I went through the Pokedex, I looked at every shiny, and I narrowed it down to my personal favorites in the particular shades of blue, and then I even went through every single generation, every sprite, just to see which was the best of the best and which version of each one was the best. So some of these are going to be a little pixelated because they're going to be from older generations, but I'm telling you, these are the best that you can get when it comes to blue shinies. Coming in at number 10, we have Tyrant. It took us 6 generations to get a T-Rex themed fossil Pokemon, and Tyrant did not disappoint. It is adorable as its first stage, and then it evolves into a fucking monster with Tyrantrum. Now, we chose Tyrant over Tyrantrum because while Tyrantrum is a very dark shade of blue, Tyrant has this almost like a metallic cobalt-esque blue color. It's very appealing. And then with the bottom jaw and the horns, it's got this nice, like, soft shade of silver. It goes really well together, and I feel like it looks better than the really dark, deep shade of blue. Coming in at number 9, we have everybody's most hated Pokemon from Gen 2, Classic Miltank. Now, Miltank didn't look that great in older generations with the blue. As we progressively moved through the generations, we got to the Miltank that we have now, which is a nice sky blue color. It's bright enough for you to be able to see that it is a nice blue without it being just overwhelming on the eyes. Coming in at number 8, we have one of my personal favorites, Bisharp. I chose Bisharp over its pre-evolution and its post-evolution forms because this is the perfect shade of blue for this evolution line. It doesn't work as well on Pawniard, nor does it work as well on, what is that thing called? Kingambit. Not to mention, Bisharp, to me, is just peak perfection with this particular line. Kingambit gets a little out there, and Pawniard is just kind of derpy. Between the goldish yellow crest, you've got the silver forearms and the silver legs. It just pops really well with that blue. Coming in at number 7, we've got Voltorb. Slash Electrode, sort of, because they are basically the same Pokemon, except one is just upside down. But I picked Voltorb over Electrode because you see more of the blue with Voltorb because it is on top. Now, we went with the Gen 4 sprite because the blue in Gen 4 was just absolutely gorgeous. It is just the perfect shade of just blue. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it is just blue. And as simple as it is to just go from a red Pokeball to a blue Pokeball, that's what makes it so great. There's no trying to add any extra flair, there's no trying to give it any crazy design, it's just changing it from one color to another. It's the opposite of going from blue Gyarados to red Gyarados, and I think it's just perfect as it is. Coming in at number 6, we have one of my personal favorites from the new generation, and it is Cloth. This moo cow, as you heard me probably say 1,000 times during our playthrough of Scarlet and Violet, is just, it is such a perfect shade of light blue that, I mean, the pictures of the in-game sprites just don't even do it justice. Like, to actually see it in-game, walking around next to you, it is the absolute best shade of blue that I think most Pokemon have ever seen. And it's complemented nicely with the white patches up on the nose and on the arms as well. The white goes really well with that lighter blue tone. Coming in at number 5, we have Polytot. This is a Pokemon that its shiny form has changed a little bit from generation to generation, and it's really just kind of because of the different color palettes that have been used between the different game systems and the available technology we had at the time. But once you get to like Gen 5 and up, it becomes this really bright, vibrant, like, I don't even know what color to call it. Almost like a sky blue, but it's got a higher contrast. It's a brighter color than the sky normally is. And then to complement it with its hands and its toes are pink, the underside of its jaw is pink, and even its belly is pink. It is just a perfect kind of contrast of almost like cotton candy colors for a Pokemon that used to be green. Coming in at number 4 is another personal favorite of mine, Tentacruel. Now, I know Tentacruel was pretty much hated throughout the community as it was basically the water form of Zubat. And Tentacruel wasn't really much more appreciated, but when you look at its stats and the things that it can do, the moves it can learn, it really becomes a pretty amazing Pokemon. And it already starts out with a nice shade of blue, but when you get to this shiny color, the blue takes on almost like a matte finish, and it is in a lighter tone, that lighter blue color that we keep, coming back to. But then you've also got the spots on top of its head, if that's what we're going to call it, as well as the one in the middle. And they take on this really like emerald green color with almost like a metallic finish. This particular image is actually taken from Pokemon Go, I believe, where it just had the best static sprite for me to use for this video, and this sprite highlights exactly why blue is just the perfect color for a shiny Pokemon. Coming in at number 3, we have Porygon II, and it hurts me to put him as number 3 because he almost was number 2. Hell, he was almost number 1 at one point because I love this goofy-ass duck. His previous evolution, Porygon 1, looks nice, but all the angles actually take away from the color palette, as does Porygon Z's just kind of outlandish design. Porygon 2 is nice, it's simple, it's just completely smooth, almost to the point that that blue just is again, one of just the most perfect shades of blue. It kind of comes back to the perfect shade that I mentioned Voltorb was, but this kind of takes that shade and it adds a nice finish on top of it, which in turn makes it a little bit lighter in color, but literally just bringing that shade of blue from just a 10 to an 11. And then it is just accented with this nice light purple, almost violet color, to where, again, this is my cotton candy duck, and it's easily one of the best shinies in the franchise, in my opinion. Coming in at number 2, this is another Pokemon that I really, at some points in my deliberation process, I had as number 1, is Nidoking. Nidoking goes from being this awesome purple monster ready to rip your arms off to just an even more beautiful color. Even though I prefer purple over blue, as far as just, it takes away the intimidation, which in turn then would make Nidoking an even scarier Pokemon, because you wouldn't expect something with this pretty of a color to just rip your throat out. It's that perfect shade of light blue, kind of like how Cloth was, But where Cloth had a little bit of contrasting issues with the placements of, you know, white and that off color for his underside, Nidoking doesn't have that problem. He's got white in all the right places. He's got the little bit of brown to give a little bit of darker color in the ears, and it's just top quality shiny. And Nidoking has been one of those Pokemon that his shiny has been that good since Gen 3. Gen 2 had some issues, but Gen 2 had a lot of issues. Coming into the number 1 slot is Suicune. If anybody saw this coming, you know me better than most people. Suicune takes the two best things about the color blue and puts them into one. With Suicune's normal form, it's got a blue body, it's got the purple cloud cape sort of thing. And with the shiny form, its blue body turns to almost like an ice blue color, but enough blue that it's blue, and not so much of just a clearish color. And that purple cloud turns to, again, that perfect shade of blue that we were talking about with like Nidoking. Now, and because of this, I actually wanted to have Articuno in the top 10. And the reason I didn't is because Articuno's shiny is basically Suicune's body, but it's just Suicune's body. The problem is that it's so light of a blue that without any other color to really go along with it, it in a way it loses its appeal, because it's so light that it almost has no color. Whereas Suicune has that light ice blue color mixed in with that darker, but not too dark, light blue color, and it is the perfect shade. And this sprite here is from Fire Red Leaf Green, which is basically the first good shiny Suicune that we got, because Gen 2 shinies, again, they're hit or miss. And it hasn't been this good since. And it's not that they've changed it, really. It's just that the color palette moved away from the bright, vibrant colors that we had in Gen 3. And honestly, even the pose here just makes it an even better shiny than the other generations that came after it. So that is our, I'm sure, highly controversial top 10 blue shiny Pokemon. You are free to let me know in the comments how wrong you think I am and which Pokemon we missed, and if any of them should be higher or lower. It is debatable, and I will say that, again, between Suicune, Nidoking, and Porygon II, it was really hard deciding my top two and even number 1, because those three were pretty much guaranteed. And from the beginning, I knew the top 5 were going to be the top 5, because those are just the ones that appealed the most to me. I just didn't know what order that they were going to be in. But this is the order I ended up deciding on, and really I'm pretty happy with this order. I feel like it's, in a way, I guess it just depends on your personal preference for your shade of blue, because it's not necessarily consistent with the shades of blue, because this is a lighter blue, Nidoking's a bit darker, Porygon 2 is even darker blue, but it's also about the design of the Pokemon and how well that color looks on that design. So let me know what you guys think in those comments down below, and perhaps we'll have a civilized discussion about it.